I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, let's talk about the Jeffrey Epstein case. And it's not on the front pages anymore. It has been overtaken, I would say, by the Mueller testimony, various Trump tweets, which we don't have to get into. But even though the story is not front and center, it is progressing. And the prosecutors who are investigating Epstein, they are pushing the case forward, and they are moving along various lines to try and figure out, I would say, who Epstein is and what he was up to. And there's two stories that came out recently, which I would like you to kind of go over. And one of them is that the judge has signed protective orders over materials that the feds have obtained on financier Jeffrey Epstein. And the other story that I would like you to go over is that they have subpoenaed Jeffrey Epstein's pilots. And I think this is important because in previous videos, we said that there are a lot of people that have been witness to what was going on with the Lolita Express and this island, this quote unquote orgy island that he would bring these high powered officials to. So, on the one hand, we have the feds and the prosecutors bringing evidence to Epstein's attorneys. I would imagine these are people that they're going to start questioning, and probably people that are related to the 2008, plea bargain. And on the other side, you have people that have been witness to what was going on, starting with the pilots who are now being brought in to give an account as to what happened. So what's going on here, Alexander?
Right. Now, let me start because there's discussing, first of all, the handing over of the documents, because this is key to understanding an unusual aspect of this case. Now, in most cases, I always start when I discuss criminal cases by insisting on the key point, which is that whatever allegations you're hearing about somebody, you must start with the presumption of innocence. A person is presumed innocent unless they've been found guilty according to law. In Epstein's case, we don't have that position because Jeffrey Epstein admitted to child abuse when he was as part of the sweetheart deal that he did 10 years ago. Now,
you're referencing the Palm Beach.
I am referencing
in Florida.
Palm Beach. Okay. Exactly. That deal that he did 10 years ago. He says, I came to an agreement with the prosecutors at that time, whereby I would plead guilty to this one charge, and they would drop all the others, and they would also, and this is part of the deal, they would not go after anyone else who might have been involved in any of my activities. Now, that includes people who might have been invited to his island or to his residence in New York, and who might have been involved in any kind of, illegal sexual activity. Now, it's important to stress that is what Epstein is claiming. That's his defense. That is the entirety of his defense. He is claiming a form of double jeopardy. That was part of his agreement. He says that he is covered by this agreement. He admitted he did wrong, and so are the people who were involved with him, and that any future prosecution of him, including the one that is going on now, violates his double jeopardy protection. That is the entirety of his defense. So his defense is a legal argument. Now, I don't think that defense is going to succeed in the end for all sorts of reasons, and it's quite clear that the prosecutors are looking to shake it down. But what has happened in the meantime is that the judge who's looking into this case has said that because of this defense, any papers that the prosecutors have which involve other people must be given over to Epstein's lawyers, because they are protected for the moment by this deal that he did 10 years ago. That's where that comes in. Now, I don't think it's as significant as people think, because first of all, the prosecutors will obviously have made copies of all these papers, so they will know all about all of this. The lawyers are not in a position to destroy them, because that would be a serious criminal offense in itself, and they wouldn't do that. So what it shows, to my mind, that this kind of inquiry has been made and this kind of application has been made to the judge is two things. Firstly, that Epstein's entire defense is double jeopardy, relying upon this deal he made 10 years ago with Jim Acosta and with the prosecutors at that time. And secondly, and this is much more important, that the prosecutors, for their part, are widening their net. They're looking at lots of other people, and it's because of that that this application for the return of papers was triggered. So they're not just looking at Epstein, they're looking at lots and lots of other people also, and that's where the subpoenas come in, because the subpoenas of the pilots will clearly be to try to get evidence of the sort of things that were going on that plane, because there's been allegations that it wasn't just on the island that bad things were happening, but on the plane itself, and who was there and who was doing it. So it seems to me that we've seen over the last few days proof that this is a real investigation, and that the prosecutors are taking it seriously, and that they are preparing, or that they're trying to find some way to shake Epstein's double jeopardy defense, his reliance on this deal of 10 years ago, and to find a way round it, and to go not just against Epstein, but all the other people he was involved with and who were involved with him.
Is a double jeopardy defense, does that carry over? I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with U.S. law, but would that carry over from Florida to New York?
Yes, it would, because he agreed this deal with federal prosecutors, I'm afraid. So it does carry
Acosta.
Acosta,
okay.
Exactly. And there are some lawyers, Andrew McCarthy at National Review, who is a great lawyer and a former federal prosecutor. He thinks that Epstein does have an effective double jeopardy defense. I don't personally think so. I think there will probably be ways around it. Now, we're going to have very sophisticated legal minds looking at all of this. But the very fact that the prosecutors are probing in this way suggests strongly to me that they think they can shake this double jeopardy defense, and that makes me think it's likely that they will succeed in doing so.
What do you mean by the word shake this double jeopardy defense? Are you saying that with these two news items that we just went over, that the prosecutors, on the one hand, are widening the net, they're looking for different people that probably were involved in the first case, the plea bargain, and they're taking a look at all of that, so they're redoing all the legwork there, and they're keeping Epstein's legal team, as per the judge's ruling, they're keeping them informed. And then on the other hand, they're widening it even further by trying to bring in new witnesses and new testimony. All of this is being done to come up with new charges, or a new way to take this to trial outside of the plea bargain that he made? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. And first of all, I should say that was a pretty, if you look at that plea bargain, it's pretty all-embracing. But I think that in this particular case, they will be able to find a way round. And what I mean by shake the double jeopardy defense, I mean break the double jeopardy defense. In other words, persuade the court that for some reason or other, legal reason, in this particular case, it doesn't apply. Now, that may very well be that they will find other ways, other routes to prosecute Epstein for other offenses which have not been covered by this double jeopardy defense, though, as I said, that's actually quite difficult. Or it could mean that they will find other people to prosecute, despite, again, the nature of this double jeopardy defense that Epstein has. But what I am saying is I am confident that they will be able to break it down, that they will find some legal means of persuading a judge that this double jeopardy defense cannot apply so as to protect Epstein from the terrible things he has done and to protect the people who were involved with Epstein and were engaged with him in the terrible things he has done.
Do you think that these revelations and what the prosecutors are now undertaking also point to perhaps the possibility that we're going to see more people arrested in this network?
Yes, I think so. I mean, that's
I'm not saying people above Epstein, maybe people below Epstein as well, maybe people that he had working for him.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly where we're heading. I mean, that's exactly the point about the net spreading. That's why people are being subpoenaed. That's why, as I said, the prosecutors have been looking at documents which implicate other people. I think it is highly likely that these prosecutors are thinking about indicting more people who were involved. So I think it's very likely that going down the line, some of these people will be indicted, at which point it will be very interesting to see how they respond, because will they also try to hide behind the deal that Epstein did, which was partly on their behalf, so as to protect them? I frankly think that won't work at all, because how can you be protected by a deal in which you were not yourself directly involved and which involves a criminal offense? I can't really understand that kind of defense. But will they do that, or will they dispute the actual allegations, even though it's important to say, and I come back to what I said at the beginning, Epstein himself cannot claim that he is an innocent man, because as part of that deal that he did 10 years ago, he pleaded guilty. So he can't say he's innocent now. He has already pleaded guilty.
My hunch when I read more about what's going on is that this is really about exposing a network. I mean, I think they are moving beyond the one person, Jeffrey Epstein, and they are trying to uncover a much bigger sex trafficking network. That's just the feeling that I get as I read these updates.
Yes, I get the same sense. And I think they're also really very interested in Jeffrey Epstein himself. And it was very interesting that the prosecutors, as I said, and the police and the FBI went into his mansion in New York, and apparently have been going through all his papers, and they've been going through all the information at these Palm Beach residence and at his island, Little St. James in the Caribbean. And they've established that Epstein's fortune, net worth, is somewhere in the region of $500 million. Now, he's claimed to be a billionaire in the past, by the way, but it seems that at the moment he's not. But that is still a huge fortune. And there are lots of unanswered questions still about how he made that fortune, and concerns that he might have been involved with other people, greater and wealthier and more powerful than himself, and that might mean that he was involved in some way, either to compromise these people and to get money from them in some kind of sophisticated blackmail racket. I've seen that allegation made. Or perhaps that he was working for an intelligence agency, and that's of course what Jim Acosta said. So I mean, we have all these pieces of the puzzle that have to be put together, and I get the sense that the prosecutors are interested in finding out the truth, and are going to press on until they do get to the truth, because I think an awful lot of people were involved and badly affected in this affair. And some of these victims were clearly not heeded properly when that case was settled all those years ago. I'm going to say, by the way, one quick thing, which is that I suspect that one possible way of breaking the double jeopardy defense is to say that because that deal was not properly discussed with the victims, it's not fully valid. but we'll see what we'll see. I mean, I could see counter arguments from Epstein's lawyers that he was led into a deal in that case and had every reason to believe that it was valid. So, but there's lots of legal battles going to go on. But I think at some point those legal battles will resolve, that we will understand that there is a proper prosecution going to happen. And then, as I said, I suspect that we will get to the truth very fast. The most sinister thing about the Epstein case, the most fascinating thing about the Epstein case, is that he carried out his activities practically in public. And he seems to have seen the deal that he did with Acosta 10 years ago as proof of his own immunity. And that seems to have made him even more reckless and open about some of the things that he was doing. And maybe that also applies to some of the people who were involved with him, in which case it might be possible to get evidence, all of the evidence, very quickly.
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of female facilitators that he had working for him who were procuring these girls, and a lot of these names are starting to come up. Yeah, I read about 4 women to date who were allegedly working for Epstein over many years, some decades, who were procuring the girls and facilitating this sex trafficking to go on. And I think we're going to start to really understand his network. And I said below him and above him and to the left and to the right, and all the people that were surrounding Epstein and this sex trafficking ring. I think we are going to get a clearer picture, but it's going to probably take some time before we get there.
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I think one should say is that Epstein was headed an organization. This is organized crime. I mean, we're talking about an organized crime operation in which lots of people were involved in carrying out and facilitating that crime. Not all of those people are perhaps guilty of specific offenses. I mean, somebody who flew an aeroplane, for example, and didn't do anything wrong, him or herself, might not be guilty of something. But we are talking about an organization whose objective was the carrying out of crimes, sex abuse crimes, child trafficking crimes, all kinds of
possible blackmail and extortion.
Possible blackmail and extortion. Now, the thing about organizations, crime organizations, is that they are extremely powerful, or can be extremely powerful and very effective when they are operating. But when that organization starts to be picked at, more often than not, it unravels, because they will start talking. Each person implicates the other. Now, this is not the mafia. This is not, the Al Capone Chicago outfit, where there's this code of omerta where you don't talk. These people will talk. If they are pressed, they will talk. And at that point, this entire organization will collapse like a house of cards.
Absolutely. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on the notifications bell to make sure you get notifications every time we push out a new video. You can get a copy of this video in audio format. Visit us on iTunes and Soundcloud and follow us there. And please donate to the Duran on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Your donations help keep this channel up and running. And we also have on the Duran shop 2 ebooks on Russiagate, Mueller, Barr, Papadopoulos, and everything that happened on Russiagate, with a foreword by Alexander Mercouris. And we also have great merchandise on the Duran shop as well. So when you go to the Duran shop, Alexander, you can get mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, you name it. And you can also get excellent reading material.
You absolutely can. Now, can I just say something about the books first, Alex? Because these were a big thing for us to do, because we put together not just transcripts of our videos, but as you rightly say, we had to provide detailed prefaces to get the whole story clear. And that's the purpose of our books. Now, Russiagate looks very complicated. There's large numbers of people involved. There's large numbers of aspects of this. There's, all kinds of claims and counterclaims. The purpose of our prefaces is to explain what actually happened in a straight, comprehensible line so that somebody can read those premises and understand them. And we've done it in two ways. So one book looks at how Russiagate started way back in 2015 as part of this attempt to help Hillary Clinton become president of the United States, and how it morphed as the intelligence agencies became involved into this elaborate hoax which was used to delegitimize and to discredit Donald Trump by associating him with the Russians. And we look at all the details in which these operations were carried out, the events with Papadopoulos, the Christopher Steele and his weird dossier, the story about the hacking of the DNC computers, all of those things, how they all fit together into a single pattern. And then the second book is we look at Mueller's investigation and how that ran completely out of control and how it made no sense, and how his obstruction theory made no sense either, and how it took William Barr, the new Attorney General of the United States, to come in and to sort it all out and to bring it to an end, and how by doing so, basically, he rescued the American Republic from a deep crisis. So if you want to understand Russiagate quickly and easily, you go to those two books. So that's one that you can buy from our shop. And as you rightly say, you can buy this fabulous merchandise, these wonderful shirts that I'm wearing. You can see there that I've got, the white double-headed eagle and these magnificent mugs. Now, people always ask me now, what tea am I? Well, there you go. You've got. I call it Putin's mug because it's got the crest of the Russian state, and of course it's the same mug, it's the same crest on the mug that Putin was drinking from at the G20 summit, where it made so much attention. And he drinks tea from it, just as I'm doing. Now, I'm drinking tea from this mug, which is the mug with the badge of the Alpha Force. That's Russia's elite special forces unit, one of the best special forces units in the world. I mean, it's comparable at least to Delta Force and the Navy SEALs and Britain's SAS and all of those. And what am I drinking from it? I'm drinking Russian caravan tea. This is a tea I've drunk before, but it seems to me that this kind of mug with such a sort of Russian soldiers, heroic Russian soldiers, it deserves a heroic Russian tea. And Russian caravan tea, I would remind everybody, is that kind of tea. It's as old as the 18th century, and it's a tea that used to be exported to Russia from China back in the time of Peter the Great and thereafter. So that's what I'm drinking from this mug at the moment. And you can see what a great mug it is, just as you can see what a wonderful shirt this is. 100% cotton, beautifully dyed. Come to think of it, it's the same sort of color, no doubt, as the color of the soldiers who drink from this sort of mug. It's got a sort of green color, but it's a magnificent 100% cotton shirt, incredibly comfortable. This is a great mug of the same sort. I mean, you really want to keep refreshed whilst you're reading these two books that I was telling you about. This is the mug to be refreshed from. So help the Duran. Buy this wonderful merchandise for yourself. Buy these wonderful mugs. And I will just say that we're thinking also of getting even more wonderful items in our shops coming out. And already we've got wonderful things there like, hats and, as you said, hoodies and all kinds of amazing things. So help the Duran, help yourself, buy these wonderful things, get refreshed and invigorated, and have your mind stimulated by reading our books.
Absolutely. Magic books. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.